On Two Wheels this week, Jeff takes us on a guided tour of his workshop and explains the kind of tools needed for working on a motorcycle. But first, if you are a DIY mechanic, you might require a workshop manual.
There's Sparkford Inn. Where on earth is that? Well, it's in Sparkford, of course. Where's that? It's near Yeovil in Somerset, right on the border with Dorset. And I've come here, or should I say we've come here, because Wayne's here somewhere, probably in the pub, for something which is very close to my heart. Just think how many hours you've spent sat in the garage at home, covered in dirt and grease and oil, trying to get your bike back together, workshop manual on the floor, or even trying to get the damn thing apart in the first place. Now, whatever machine you own, Honda, Suzuki, Yamaha, whatever, you'll probably have an owner's handbook with it. But you may be more familiar with the aftermarket workshop manuals, possibly the Climber ones, they're made in America, or the ones made here in the UK from Haynes, and they live just down the road.
And this is just up the road. In fact, this is the place where they produce all those manuals we've referred to. Hundreds and hundreds of different ones. And they've got a library full of all the ones they've done in the past. And of course, they make all the ones for the future. And in fact, I just want to point out, I wasn't in the pub. I never go in the pub. Never anywhere near the pub, won't let me in the pub. When they first started, they produced the motorcycle ones way back with these. This is a Honda 50 manual and the Honda 65, 70 and 90. You probably won't remember them, they're fairly old. Paul will, probably even had one. They've even done this Bantam manual here. And they've done this one right the way through. They never stop publishing that. It's on demand all the time. Hey, can't help but spot that one. The old CX500. If you're a courier, that's the Bible, innit? I mean, there's so many people with CXs earning a living out of them. You need a manual like that to keep you informed. What else have we got? Oh, look at that, Norton Commando. Now, Norton Commandos, I mean, it's a classic machine. And you might be back into biking after a long time. You might have treated yourself to a classic like this, and you've still got to know your way around it. Perfect for the job. All the photographs you need, all the information you need. I mean, the very latest stuff as well they produce. The Suzuki GSX-R 600 and the 750, right up to 1999. And even as we speak, Paul is over in the workshop talking to some lads there, the mechanic and the author, about the very latest machine, in fact, a ZX9R.
And here is the ZX9, not quite in bits yet, but nearly in bits, and Mark and Pete here have got the job of taking it apart and putting it back together. Is there only you two guys going to do this?
Yeah, so there's just the two. Pete's the mechanic, I'm the author, and I also take the photographs as we do the project.
I called you a photographer before, didn't
you? You did,
yeah. That's far too common a term for you.
No, that's right. So you used to, about sort of 3 or 4 years ago, before digital photography came in, we did have a photographer as well, so it was a team of 3. Right. But now with digital photography, well, anyone could do it.
So you're the author?
Yes, right.
I do apologise. And Pete, you're the mechanic?
That's right.
Are you going to take this to bits on your own?
Yeah, with a bit of guidance from Mark.
And put it back together?
Yeah.
Do you only do bikes, or do you do cars as well?
I do cars as well, yeah.
So whatever comes in,
cars and bikes.
You're the man, are you?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, is it just years of experience, just knowing where to dive in?
We do it in a fairly methodical, we don't just rip it to bits.
Right.
We work through it.
So we tend to sort of follow the same sort of strip down pattern, rebuild pattern on every bike.
Do you actually get your hands dirty, Mark, at all? Or do you just
only when I have to, but yeah, there has been no.
Right, I mean, you take it to, all right, it's a methodical thing. I've had engines in bits, and I'm sure lots of people have had engines in bits. You put them back together, and then you think, oh, hang on, where does that bit go? Shouldn't that have gone down there before I put all that back? I mean, does that ever happen? Have you ever had a cock-up, Pete?
No.
Go on, be honest with me.
No,
But you
no,
have.
I don't think we have. We tend to lay everything out in a sequence
Right.
on the shelves over there, and we work through it step by step.
Yeah.
Rebuild. We'd probably take it out and strip it right down and clean it all, and then rebuild it piece by piece and take photographs along the way.
But so we do actually take the trouble to keep assemblies as assemblies and don't mess up the clutch with the gearbox.
Yeah.
Because like I say, one 6mm bolt looks very much like another 6mm bolt.
It does, yeah.
So when you've got them all together in a box, it can get tricky.
Right. So a tidy workshop is an efficient workshop.
Exactly, yeah.
Right. Okay. What I've got to ask you, this is a Kawasaki Japanese. Is there any particularly good bikes to work on? Easier than others? This is a 4-cylinder. What about others? About triples that you do, twins, anything?
All the Jap stuff is pretty good. It's methodical. You don't need many special tools. I mean, as long as you've got a good selection of tools. There's only a couple of special tools you're going to need to strip over, and that's completely down to every single component off. It's like a rotor puller and a clutch holder, really. Other than that, it's just straight 10mm spanners, 10mm sockets.
Yeah, it's pretty universal these
Yeah,
days,
that's right.
isn't it, on bikes?
They are pretty good.
So what's the turnaround time on something like this, from bringing it in, bits and pieces, back together?
If it's just a one bike project, it's roughly about 2 weeks.
And
2
that's
weeks.
Every nut and bolt?
That's everything. Yeah, I mean the engine's the best part of a week of that, and then it'll be a week doing fork legs, steering head bearings, rear suspension.
Do you do foreigners?
Sorry?
Do you do foreigners? I just got my little job for it. So where are we up to on this now? You've got it nearly in bits. What is it? Engine out next?
Engine out next. Yeah, we've done carburetors, fuel pump. We tend to do like the ancillaries on the way down. Then next thing is engine out, and we'll strip it.
Right.
And the actual engine pictures are done on the way back, like Pete says, when it's all clean.
Right.
It's all been cleaned.
Well, there's a bit to go. Don't let me stop you.
No, we best get on.
I'll go and find the coffee machine. You crack on.
All right.
Wow, that was quick, wasn't it? Look at that. The magic of television there, guys. 20 minutes and gone
That's
like
all it
that.
takes.
Hey, superb. Right, so where are we up to with this? What are we going to do now on it, Pete?
We're about to split the crankcases now.
Right, and it's just gone presumably perfectly smooth up to now. No problem.
Naturally, yeah.
This is a C, ZX9 C version.
That's right. Yeah, this is the later one.
Right, you've already done the B model.
Yeah.
Is it vastly different?
This is, yeah, surprisingly, this engine's based more on the 600 and the ZX6R.
Yeah.
Whereas the B model's got a very similar to the old ZXR 750 engine in it.
You said to me 2 weeks turnaround for the bike. That's stripped down, back together. Well, it doesn't stop there, does it? Because as an author, you've got a lot of work to do.
2 weeks is just purely doing the mechanical side of it, taking the photos, taking the engine apart, taking the bike apart.
Right.
Then it's probably further 3 months for me actually doing the writing.
3 months?
Yeah, it's quite a while.
You know, I want to ask you, going away from the engine a bit, going on to plastic bodywork, little clips and things, and they're always a nuisance, and I've looked at books and it says, under there you will see, if you look carefully, a little spring and that you would never know was there if you didn't read the manual. How do you know it's there?
Well, it's Pete's under the hands-on.
I mean, with the information we're given, hopefully we can get it apart, but sometimes, you just got to go for it. I mean, it is a research workshop. We're here to find out what is behind it.
So do you ever break things? Plastic work?
Plastic clips occasionally. Not so much on bikes, but we do cars as well.
Right. So you do some damage occasionally?
Oh, only minor.
I suppose that's what we pay for the manual
all
for.
in the aid of research.
Exactly.
Research, yeah.
We would rather you break it than we flipping break it. It costs a fortune, this plastic work, doesn't it? Right, so this is going to strip the crankcases. What, more pictures, clean it up and do that?
Yeah, we did the pictures on the way back. So obviously, you can see the state of it
Yeah.
now on the way down.
Right.
It's just too oily and dirty to do it. So on the way down, it's just keep an eye on how things go together.
Right.
Pete will clean it up, spend a day or so cleaning it up, then we take all the photos on the way back.
Excellent. Right, so you've got another 3 months' work after this, writing your book.
Yeah, sat at my desk downstairs.
Right. Have you got another bike coming in, Pete? Do you know what's next?
I think there's a Yamaha Diversion coming in next.
Right.
I'm probably on to that one.
That's your
Couple
next
of weeks'
job.
time.
Good stuff. Right, okay, well, you got it apart pretty quick. I bet you can't get it back together as quick, so I'll leave you to it. Crack on, have fun.
All right, cheers.
From Mark over in the workshop, we come here, because what Mark does is download his information onto disk. There is, in fact, in these files here, negatives. There's all these disks, and there's a couple of great big safes full of all the information. These are the archives. But from this disk then, stuck in a computer around the corner here, John is working frantically to make the pictures just that little bit better. He's working to alter the size, put pictures and arrow markings on the photographs to go into the actual publication. Then further on at the back of the manual, there's always those wiring diagrams. Oh, they're hard work, I can tell you. And nowadays they're in colour. And there's a young lady over here doing that. So I want to introduce you to Carole here, who does the wiring diagrams, don't you, Carole?
I do indeed. And what happens is we have these through from the manufacturer. This is what you call a schematic diagram, and that's a photocopy of it. From this, we turn it into this, which is the finished one in the Haynes style.
And in colour.
And in colour.
Very pretty.
What we have to do, we have to make sure that all these symbols are made into our Haynes style symbols. These symbols are the same throughout our whole range.
That's cars and bikes and everything?
Cars, bikes, everything. Okay, so ignition switch is the same, A light switch is the same, a fuse is
Got
the
you.
same, and so on.
And these bulbs and everything, they're all colour related, so the indicators are obvious.
That's right. So whatever happens to be on the bike, it's this particular colour.
And where they're
Yeah.
laid out as well, aren't they? Because like your tail light and your
That's
indicators
right.
and so
We
on,
try
the
and
front
set
and
it
back.
right as much as we can, as you would see it on the bike. The front of the bike, the back of the bike with the rear lights, the left side and the right-hand side, so that it makes it easier for the customer to find
So
out where the
amateur
parts
spanner
are.
man like me has no problem, no complaints. It's
Not
easy
at
to
all.
work out. So we've only got ourselves to blame if we mess up the wiring.
That's right.
You make it sound very easy, but it's obviously very difficult to get this final product. And I do fancy the idea of going and getting one of these bikes and having a go at the wiring, just for the heck of it. But right, this is only the next stage in the process. Thank you very much, Carol, because after this, we go over here then to paste everything together. And it's a little simpler than it used to be. Because in the days of old, what they had to do is stick them to paper. The actual printed bits were stuck on there. It just sort of reminds me of being back at school in the art class. Amazing. But that wasn't so long ago, sort of 4 or 5 years ago. But since then, things have got a little bit more high-tech and they're using computer systems here. And in fact, Steve's got one, as they say they made earlier. Look at that. Thanks very much, Steve. This Yamaha YZF here. And that's the finished product. A little fatter than you would normally get. But that then, from this point onwards, goes down to the print shop and they get on with making the manual as you know it.
And then all the information comes down to the guys in this room. This is a Ducati on here, as you see. Very funny lighting in here because we use these aluminium light-sensitive plates. And this is to make the plates for the printing press. What they do, they pull this thing down, that goes on there, shut that there, and the image is actually etched into the plate like that, using this ultraviolet light. That's why it's all a bit funny colour in here. But they've got to be very careful with these plates, you know, because if they were to get the plates mixed up, you would get pages in one manual that perhaps shouldn't be there. And that would be confusing, wouldn't it? I did hear a rumour that many years ago, somebody mixed up some plates for the Rover and the Allegro, and they finished up making a leg over. Ha! How about that? Oh, here we go.
Leg over, eh? I think you should stick to just riding motorbikes and not writing scripts with jokes in, don't you? It took him 3 weeks to do that. Anyway, these foily things, which are awfully noisy. In fact, I've got a new job. Sound effects, eh? Phew. Anyway, these foils go into this thing, this huge printing machine, and it is big. In fact, this is £1 million worth of printing machine, yeah? And it does up to 11,000 copies an hour. That's a bit better work rate than you get out of me, I can tell you. And they then end up coming out of this here. So to work a big fancy printing machine like that, obviously you need a big fancy control board, and this is exactly what we've got. It's massive, hundreds of buttons, and it's like a flaming recording studio. You know, it's amazing. But the guy who works this, Peter, has obviously got to have a keen eye as well, because he checks the work. He goes down to this magnifying glass, makes sure that all the print is just so and perfect, and if he's not happy with it, he then uses the buttons. Talking of buttons, I just caught that one then. Now, I thought that was on number 5, but it's on 6 now. You see, you've really not got to touch these things. Peter? Peter? I'll tell you what, I hope I haven't knackered that machine up over there. I'll keep my hands in my pockets from now on. Anyway, so we have a binder, OK? And we have the text. The two pieces have then got to be obviously put together. So the text goes along on this conveyor belt here into this machine. And then further along here, they're mated together. Missus. Anyway, and then when they're mated together and glued and so on, they then come out over here, out of this machine. Along the conveyor belt, this is a little ride, enjoying themselves, a little trip. Stacked up there to go into another machine, and then they're all wrapped up so that they don't get dirty and grubby when they're on the shelf at the shop.
Well, it's not just workshop books, you know, they do here. Loads of other books as well. Look at this. The TIGHE 100 and Daytona, eh? The Lambretta book, I bet that was popular a few years ago, probably more than it is now. The Ducati story. And I bet this has got to be one of the best sellers. Carl Fogarty, look, there he is, #1, in his full glory on the front cover. But when they've actually finished making the books, they go into the boxes and they've got the cellophane around them, they come here to this massive, and I mean massive, distribution warehouse. There are more books in here than I've ever seen. So next time you're sat on your garage floor, you've got your bike in bits and you're covered in oil and grease and you're pulling your hair out, trying to get it back together,
don't panic.
Oh.
Just a minute. It can be done because you've seen the proof.
I
Now,
need
what
to
do
ask
you
you
want?
something.
What's up?
Just right then, bye folks, go and make a cup of tea, go on.
What?
You know that book you're on about earlier on, and that Lego-over
The
thing?
Lego, yeah.
Have you just got one, like, one of these books?
I've got one in my car.
Well,
Do you
come
want
on
to
then,
see
show
it?
it.
It's very good.
I haven't really got one of those books, you know. And after the break this week, Jeff talks about workshop tools.
Ah, it's biker, is it? What's the problem? Oh, I see. You just want some tips on keeping your bike tip-top, as we would say in the profession. Such things as what? Chain adjustment? Wheel alignment? Perhaps changing brake pads? Oh, I think we can help you there. But first, you'll need a few tools. When you start off with your bike, this is all you're going to get. Just a simple kit of tools, comes free with the bike, so they don't give you much, do they? Old buck spanner, adjustable little wrench, a few Allen keys, and there we go, fairly typical. So what should you get? Well, let's start with a set of spanners, good as any. Now, if you buy a cheap set from the local market store, you might get what's happened to this. This is a very old spanner, but see the jaws on that, if you see it against my coat, they've splayed there. If you try and fit that on a nice shiny new pin, it's just going to round the corners off. No good to man the beast. What you need is a decent set and just make sure it fits nicely. Look at that, no problem at all. So buy yourself a decent kit. And by the way, these are called combination spanners because it's got an open end there, ring spanner in there. This is for getting more purchase on at this end. This one is for easy access in awkward spots. So there we go, there's the spanners. Hammers, again you might think, not much in hammers. Engineer's hammer, ball peen that one's called, general purpose hammer, lovely feel to that, one of my favourites for giving stuff is a gentle tap. There, rubber-faced hammer, two edges, this one's well worn this is, but you can bash fairly delicate stuff like aluminium casings with that. If a cover is tight on its pins, just give it a tap, you're not going to mark it, you're not going to damage any paint on that. This one, copper-faced hammer. This one's useful for hitting something of steel, wheel spindle or something that's proving a bit stubborn. You can give it a tap with that. You're not going to mark it because it's copper-faced. When it comes to sockets, there's an ideal one for bikes, fairly small sizes. I've got a second set as well with even more, but you've got a good range of metric sizes there, right down to diddy ones. You've got the screwdriver attachment type there to get on the smaller ones, get them into small places. Little universal joint there as well. Very useful kit. I also bought myself one of these, which you can see in all sorts of DIY stores. It's got a ratchet handle on it, but one of the things I bought it for was this. Very useful, this. It's a flexible drive, needless to say, for going around corners. But put your sockets on there, and it's really good for getting inside that fairing. See, you can just bang away there. Excellent. Comes with a range of interchangeable bits from crossheads, flats. Very, very useful piece of kit. Really like that. Also, when talking about useful bits, I bought this as an addition. Again, on a bike, you're often tight for access. So this is for a socket set, but it's got an adjustable head there, so you can get into those awkward places. But I've built these up over time. Let's just move on a little bit to some specialised parts. See this, some of you might recognise this. It's an impact driver. What we've got here is interchangeable bits on the end so that you can fit sockets on there, or you can fit crosshead screwdriver blades, or rather that's a flathead, or crosshead screwdriver blade like that one, the old Phillips job. And if you've got really stubborn screws that have been in for some time on an aluminium casing, put it on there, give this a fair old whack with a hammer, hold it there in the screw, good bag. Just like that, that shouldn't happen, but on the tip of the screw, and in there is a screw thread, and it'll just slowly turn it, that little crack, and it'll come off. Really good, that's the old impact driver. Electrical work. Now some of you might be frightened by electrical work, and if you are, believe me, I won't encourage you to have a play. But you can buy a little instrument like this for under a tenner, and it will give you voltage and current readings and resistance reading, and it's just useful if you are testing out the electrics on your bike. It's well worth investing in it instead of guesswork. Saves you money. Test your battery voltage at the end of the day. Know if you've really got a flat battery. Now here's a little secret at the end. Rubber gloves. Looks like surgeon gloves. Well, they are in a way, but you can buy these from any good store, any good chemist. And they're very useful if you've got a really cruddy job to do on the bike and you're messing around with the chain or changing oil or whatnot. Stick a pair of these on. They're just disposable things, but oils are carcinogenic. They can involve or cause skin cancer, and you don't want that. Wear a pair of gloves, keep the nasties away. What else have we got here? A couple of bits I nearly missed. To supplement your kit when you're on the road, carry some cable ties. Now, you've seen these around on wiring looms. All they do is just go through that little slot there, pull them up tight around the frame tubes. But they're incredibly useful when you're on the bike. You can connect them together. You could make this 4 or 5 foot long if you wanted to. You could hold on your luggage on the back of the bike. But it's a very useful get you home device, cable ties. Also, copper wire. I always carry some copper wire in my kit. Again, if a screw drops out of the bike, bit of copper wire through the hole, tie the fairing panels together or whatever. It'll hold something on till you get home. Where are you going to get the copper wire from? You must all have a bit of home wiring cable at home, knocking around in the garage, some extension that's been done. Just strip the insulation off, pull the copper wire out, and just make yourself up a little coil. But it's so malleable and so flexible, you can do a lot with it. And finish off, bit of insulation tape, again really useful. And even better is the old duct tape, the silver duct tape. Racers use it, they use it to patch the leathers, patch the bike. You can buy it in all sorts of widths. It's a fabric reinforced adhesive tape, very, very strong, waterproof as well. It's called duct tape because ventilation engineers used to use it, or not used to, still use it, to type up the joints on the air conditioning ducting, keep the air out. And so duct tape, that's called. Very useful stuff. Now that's a sample of the tools. There's more tools, of course. But with that kit, you'll be able to do nearly every job you want to do on your bike. But in a series we're going to be running called Tech Tips, we're going to be introducing a few of these tools as we go.
On Two Wheels next week, Wayne meets up with an old friend at the home of Knox Body Armour in Cumbria, where he checks out the latest technology in protective clothing.